I have 7 o'clock. I think it's been 30 minutes. I'd like to call the meeting to order. There we are. Can I get a roll call, please, Tracy?
Mr. Artist?
Here.
Mrs. Boom?
Here.
Mrs. Helsel? Mr. Hose?
Here.
Mr. Kunkel?
Here.
Mr. McGinnis? Mr. Redmond?
Here. At this time, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I make the motion that we approve the agenda with, and tonight skipping the committee reports.
Second.
Moved and supported to approve the agenda as amended. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 Yes. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Oh, we have the consent agenda. Approve the minutes of the regular meeting on November 11th, communications, activity report, and approval of bills.
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 Yes. Opposed, no. Motion carries. At this time, we have an opportunity for comments from the public. There aren't any popping up right away. We'll have another opportunity at the end of the board meeting. We'll move on at this time to administrative report. Elementary school, Mr. Hamilton.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, and hopefully you're having a good night. But I have nothing to add to my report except for today we had our second round of material pickup for our students that are currently virtual. And we had a very, very nice turnout, and that is for all the students in the elementary that parents came and picked up the materials that go along with their online learning. Overall, the teaching staff has been knocking it out of the park with their lessons, and they've been doing a really, really nice job. So, I couldn't be happier with the product that we're putting out and our ability to reach the needs of our students and families. So that's all I really have.
I would just like to say that I spoke with Miss Blazak earlier today, and you guys are knocking it out of the park by every indication. So great work, and keep it up. We appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Middle school, high school, and athletics, Dr. Hanel.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to see all of you. No real updates other than with the 12-day extension, there is a continued prohibition on athletics. And we'll just continue to keep you apprised of that. I know that we have our own decisions being made with regard to that. But we, as MHSAA is able to change their recommendation based upon MDHHS and other factors, I'll continue to inform you, and together we can make some decisions for our students. But other than that, nothing to add. We appreciate your support.
Thank you. And again, I would say thank you for your great effort. And I really, truly am hearing a lot of really good things. And the entire staff is working hard, and it shows. Just a great job by the entire staff, and everybody involved. I really appreciate it. Can't say enough good about it. Superintendent, Mrs. Blazek.
Thank you, Mr. Redmond. At this time, I'm going to turn my time over to Katie Bice, who is our coordinator for the Health and Wellness Center, and she is going to give an update to the board. I had talked to you about this earlier last week, and so she is going to go through some very pertinent items for you at this time. Katie?
Thanks, Kim, and thanks for having me. So yeah, I'm the Adolescent Health Manager for District Health Department number 10, and I'm super excited that we are going to be opening a full, what we call our full clinical model in Lake City schools. And so there's a few things, this being a state grant, there's a few requirements that we need from the school board, some things that I have to have approved that I need to go over with you, and then we also need approved before this clinic can open. And this is my 9th clinic I've opened, that the health department's opened and that I've opened. So we've learned these are great things for the school board for me to discuss with the school board, for the school board to know ahead of time before this clinic opens, and then of course to get your support and answer any questions that you have. So that being said, I mean, I'm sure you all know all about this clinic. I'm sure Kim's given you the scoop on it, but there's 160 of these adolescent health centers throughout the state. This model itself, there's probably only closer to 80, I think, but it's about time we got one in Missaukee County and Lake City. That's all I have to say. So there's a lot in our very urban counties, or in the urban counties of the state, but we're fighting for them in our rural counties. So the first thing that we have to have approval of, and we'll need this documented in the minutes, and whether it's approved of tonight, Kim, or I talk about it, give everybody time to think it over, and then maybe it's approved at next month's meeting. Is that kind of probably how we want to do it? So I'll just need documentation in the minutes on that next month's meeting. But the first thing is pretty simple. It's the location of the health center, and the location of the health center, I believe it's in room 239 in Lake City Middle School. So it's a room an area that was being used already by our mental health clinician when we had the mental health clinician only in the school last year. And then there's some work being done to the bigger classroom to renovate the space. So that's the first thing we need approval, is the location of the health center. The second thing is that we're required as part of this to do a needs assessment every 3 years with the students in the school district. And the most popular, most common one that's been being used across the state, and I think it was in the process of being implemented last year when everything got shut down, and Tim was working on this. And if it hasn't happened, I'm sure it will happen in the next year or two. It's the administration of the survey called the MyFi, and that's the Michigan Profile for Healthy Youth. It's a variety of questions asking about all the needs and the behaviors and things like that for the kids, and it's usually given to 7th, 9th, and 11th graders. And by doing that, and the reason the state requires that is it really gives us a picture of kind of what kind of services our clinics should be offering. And it changes. It used to be tobacco prevention services. It used to, now a huge push. And when we see these surveys and what the kids are going through, it's mental health, obviously now. It's marijuana use, we're not seeing tobacco so much anymore. So, but what that does, it's kept by, we keep that information, and then we try to decide what type of education we want to make sure we're doing with the kids and try to prevent those behaviors. So that's the second thing, is the administration of the MyFi, or some needs assessment, every 3 years. The third thing that I'm going to be asking for approval of is our consent for services policy. And I think Kim, I had sent her the digital copy of that, and she may have sent that out. And I'm not going to read through it all, but this is the policy that we use, being a adolescent health center where we hardly ever see the parents with the kids. It's so different than when they go into the doctor's office and the parents are right there. Usually the kids are the best thing about this is they're learning to become good consumers of healthcare, we hope. And so they're coming in, they're scheduling their own appointments, and hopefully keeping those appointments. But it's important that we can't see them unless we have a consent, a parent or guardian consent for those services. And that's for most services, and I'm going to talk about that. But that's the policy I sent talks about that consent and how we will see them one time with a verbal consent from the parents, but after that, they have to have a written consent, and that consent form we can try to get out to the parents. Probably will try to do it after the first of the year. So that's the main thing. The other thing that I want to make sure, and it's going to lead into my number 2, is to let you all know the services that will be offered at this clinic. I'm going to pull up my documents so I'll make sure I can go over this. But beyond just your general services, that a doctor's office basically would offer, so well child checks, sports physicals, comprehensive exams, laboratory tests, so rapid strep, rapid flu. My clinics right now are going to be offering actually COVID testing after the first of the year. We just got the okay and got actually some tests to do that, but that's not on my list because right now that's not something I'm having planned right now in Lake City, but eventually I'm hoping that will happen. We'll do vision screening, minor injuries, acute illness, things like that. But probably the biggest thing that I want to talk to you all about is that we will be we'll be offering services or offerings, the confidential services that are offered in Michigan for minors. Some of those confidential services kids can access regardless of where they get them. They can access certain services per Michigan law, whether with or without a parental consent. And so those services that will be offered at this clinic with or without a parental consent, that usually are the big things that I want to make sure the public and parents and school board and everybody knows about is we will be offering pregnancy testing at this clinic. We will not be, if a female tests positive for pregnancy, she will be referred out. We will not be discussing abortion as an option. We will not be, will not be distributing any form of contraceptive at this clinic, either being on school property. So so students who have testing, they'll be referred out for further counseling and services to the health department, because the health department, if there's a positive pregnancy test, the health department staff can connect them to our Women, Infants, and Children program, all the various things that we have for individuals that may be pregnant. And then the other thing is the testing for sexually transmitted diseases, primarily gonorrhea, chlamydia, and HIV are the things that we test for at this clinic. And those are things we don't need a consent for. If they test positive, we treat them, not for HIV, but for gonorrhea and chlamydia right on site. And so, the goal of this is to stop the spread of some of these sexually transmitted diseases. But, that's something that I think both of those things, I think parents, sometimes that's a concern because and school board members and other people might be concerned because kids can access these services during the school day without their parents knowing. But just to let you know, that's about 3% of the visits we see are the confidential ones. And a lot of times parents end up knowing that their kids are coming in for these services as much as we think they might not. Some of them do, but some of them do not. So I wanted to talk to you about that. And we put that right on our consent form, and I think we sent out a copy of that as well. But if not, I can always email it. But it talks about the services offered, and then there's a star by some of the services that kids can get anywhere in Michigan confidentially, whether the parents sign that consent form or not. They can access those services at the clinic. Now, the other piece of that's important to mention is they can access those services at the doctor, they can access them at the health department, so it's not just these clinics that offer, it's any healthcare facility in Michigan offers those services. And then the last, and so that's kind of those two things. And the other thing that kids can access without parental consent that will be offered at the clinic is counseling. So they can meet with a counselor. If they're 14 years or older, they can meet with a counselor without their parents knowing, up to 12 visits or for 4 months, whichever comes sooner. And just to let you know, our clinicians, our mental health clinicians, are, after the very first confidential visit, are trying to get the parents involved and trying to talk to the kids about the importance of getting the parents involved. I mean, the reason a lot of the times the kids may not want their parents involved is there's usually something going on with them involving the parents. And so, you know, there's referrals out of these visits for CPS sometimes. There's different things like that that we have to do in order to protect these kids. But our goal in the end, and that's why it is only a 12 visit rule, is to have some parent involvement by the end or by the time they get through. So those were kind of the big, those are kind of the big things on the consent for services that might jump out at you when you're looking, that I, you know, without reading all the way through it, that I wanted to make sure that I make you aware of. And then the services rendered, I sent that as well. And that just talks about all the services. And like I said, most services people don't even think twice about, and what ends up being the biggest concern is the confidential services, but that kind of does go away after a while. I expect I may get some questions about that.
Okay, thank you, Katie. I will also tell you that we did have a meeting yesterday with an advisory group. We have parents on there. We have Craig Artis has agreed to serve on that. If we need another board member, we're happy to do that. We also have administration on that team, some teachers. So I'm just opening this up. If you have a couple questions or have some more clarification, Katie can answer those for you right at this time. So go ahead and ask her if you have any questions. Okay, so I just wanted to, we're not going to approve this until next month, so that gives you a little time. If you have questions, concerns, you can, I did give you the paperwork already. I showed that to you last Monday. So feel free to look it over. We'll have a little more time to discuss. And if you have additional questions, I can always bring Katie to a committee meeting and she can address it for you again. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Redmond.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you. That was a very nice presentation.
Yep.
Helpful. We move on to policy recommendations at this time. Mrs. Blazak has presented the board with the following policy revision recommendations. Cost principles, spending federal funds, procurement, federal grants and funds, emergency removal, suspension and expulsion, due process of rights, and facility security. This is our second reading with adoption scheduled for later on in the meeting tonight. Are there any questions about that? Okay, we'll move on to action items. Number 1, sinking fund pay, project pay applications.
The board has received applications for payment on the sinking fund project. The recommended action is that the board approve the following payments from the sinking fund. We have from high school, the Cornerstone Architects, Bauma at the elementary, and the Health and Wellness Center with Cornerstone Architects and Block Electric.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. We have a motion and support. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 2, approve window treatment quote.
The board has received a quote from John Martin for trimming windows in the middle school and high school buildings in the amount of $3,995. This is to be taken from the sinking fund. The recommended action is that the board approve the quote from John Martin in the amount of $3,995 from the sinking fund.
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 3, approve payment for window trim lumber.
The board has received a quote from Hausler Lumber for lumber to trim the middle school and high school windows in the amount of $1,250 from the sinking fund. The recommended action is that the board approve the quote from Hausler Lumber in the amount of $1,250 from the sinking fund.
Second.
Moved and supported. Any discussion about this item? All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 4, food service budget amendment.
Now that we have more updated information regarding revenue and expenditures from the June budget, a budget amendment is needed for consideration and review. The board members received copies of the recommended amendment to our current budget. The recommended action is that the board amend the 2021 budget as follows. Total expenditures, food service, $779,530. Total revenues, food service, $707,394.
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Approve MIOSHA temporary remote work policy.
Pursuant to MIOSHA Emergency Rule 5.8 dated October 14th, 2020, the employer shall create a policy prohibiting in-person work for employees to the extent that their work activities can feasibly be completed remotely. The recommended action is that the board approve the MIOSHA temporary remote work policy as presented.
So move.
Support.
And moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 6, COVID extended learning plan.
All right, earlier today, I sent you the updated COVID extended learning plan. The difference that we, obviously that we have moved to is that we are entirely remote and virtual. That impacts kindergarten through 12th grade. Preschool is still remaining in person. I will tell you that our percentage rates and this we track every week. That's required for the state and also required for you, and we post this on our website. But immediately following the board meeting on November 11th, the next week we were at 78%, and this is K-12. Week 2, 78%. Week 3, 83%, and this week we were at 84%. I will tell you that elementary has been running 98 to 100% of two-way. That means the teacher or counselors, somebody has been in contact with the students at least twice a week. And that can be through Google Classroom, phone calls home, a number of different things. So we've really been averaging right around 70, 75% middle school, high school. And so those numbers continue to stay strong. I know Jim Snyder was out on a visit today, with a family. So we're continuing to make sure we're touching base with our students. Is there any questions from the board regarding our two-way communication or percentages that I just shared? Okay, I think we can move, Tom, to the comments then.
Do we have any comments from the public regarding the COVID extended learning plan?
I do.
Okay, so the recommended action then is that the board approve the COVID extended learning plan, reconfirmation, 30-day review.
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. And other items, the next special board meeting in lieu of workshop in lieu of committee meetings is Monday, January 4th at 6:30. And next regular board meeting is Wednesday, January 13th. And hopefully those are in person. And that's all we got. Is there anything else from anybody?
Hey, Tom, this is Tim. I do have one more comment from the public. Christine from our Friends for the Students of Lake City group tried to comment, but she sent me a text instead. And she just wanted to personally thank everyone in the district for everything. She is extremely proud to be a Trojan parent and pleased with everything that we have been doing. And she just wants us to know that if any student needs anything, the Friends group is still there to help. So we appreciate her and her support.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that's wonderful.
That is wonderful. We are blessed. We're living in a wonderful community. Anything else?
I would just like to make the comment. I'd like to thank the staff and the administration for everything they've done, and all the board members have a great night. Yep, I'd second that.
Marcus.
We're adjourned at 7:29. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you.
my Google Meet to work. I'm sorry I was late.